and welcome to Simply inTAXicating. The wheel of indirect tax reform continues to gain momentum in the form of GST. The GST has reached a stage where some of the critical decisions have already been taken, but unfortunately it has also suffered a temporary setback in the form of the GST Council not being able to resolve the issue of cross empowerment. However, the most critical decision of GST rate matrix that has been finalized. Another major development which has taken place is that the GST, the filtered GST model law, which has been circulated among the states, which are going to, all the technical committee at its full strength is going to meet very soon and finalize before the GST Council takes up for final approval of the model law. And after that, it will go to the parliament and all the state assemblies will perhaps take up the SGST model law. Looking at all these dimensions and some more development which are in the pipeline, we have three distinguished panelists with us who are going to give us a fresh, refreshing insight into the issues. We have Mr. Sumit Dutt Majumder, the former Chairman, Central Board of Excise and Customs. We have Mr. Bipin Sapra, partner ENY, and we have Mr. S.P. Singh from GST Network. So, sir, let me start with you. This cross-empowerment is one setback. So far, the GST Council has been able to take most of the decisions by consensus. But the cross-empowerment, did you really visualize it earlier that this is going to be a major roadblock for the GST Council?
See, originally I never thought that it will be such an issue. I tell you why. If you see what model we have adopted dual control model, dual GST. So it was that the central GST would be administered by center, state GST would be administered by states, and the IGST would be administered by center. So that was thought that, and it was going on quite smoothly. Suddenly last 2-3 years, or maybe 3-4 years, suddenly it has cropped up that instead of dual, there should be single control. Now, how many controls are there now? You have central excess control, service tax control, state VAT control, luxury, if it's a luxury item, the luxury tax control, entry tax control. So instead of multiple control, you are having two controls. I mean, this was bearable. But if I may say that, what is said about there's some advertisement, a dil mange more. So now you want one control. Right. Now, unnecessarily you are creating this confusion. There's no need for that. And I think this is going to be an hindrance. I doubt whether, I mean, I would be very happy if it is sorted out. Center has proposed two. One is that it should be your
model
vertical and but these models, you see, it will create a lot of problem at the implementation stage. You can't conceive of all the issues which will arise, whether it will be under state control or central control. Instead of working on the disputes on the taxation, you keep on having disputes amongst yourselves in how to collect it and who will collect it. So I am not very happy about it.
Mr. Sapra, how do you look at it from other side of the fence? The SSCs are also worried about this issue, or it is a completely non-issue so far as industry and trade is concerned?
No, the industry is very worried about this issue, more worried given the present condition, and I would beg to differ from Mr. Majumder here. The industry, what people have to realize that when it's the goods sector, today there is excise, there is the VAT, and there are the octroi and NP taxes. The levy is on all different taxable events. The assessment, whatever is happening on different taxable events, and hence there is no overlapping of jurisdiction of center and state there. Because at each taxable event, there is a different assessment and there is a different power with the center or state. So there is there is a multitude of controls that should go, and there should be one control. That's great. But think of the services. Today, services has one control. Going forward, it will be a decentralized registration on the same base, for the same taxable event. Both the center and state are going to levy the tax and administer it. The interpretation for center and state may be totally different. The audits for the same set of books by center and state may have a different bearing. So what the industry is looking at is that for whatever they are doing, even if the center has cleared them, the state is always out there, or vice versa, to look at their books, to really assess them, or really there will be an anti-evasion. So there will be multitude of disputes, multitude of administrative issues, and that's something which is troubling the industry a lot. And they want one single control, how it is worked out, whether there is cost empowerment. There should be at least some logical cost empowerment. I can understand that given there are two laws, CGST and SGST, there would be the control would vest with center and state. That's the model. But there should be some bit where there should be that there is a single.
So you're basically talking about that there should be some kind of understanding between the two, so that the SSE is not harassed, SSE is not troubled. But of course, there would be some kind of protocol, sir, of course.
For that, you saw the one proposal was the first track proposal. Whoever, I mean, when it's a clean transaction, then there is no control at all, I mean, no physical contract, because the entire thing is being taken care of by GST Net and the officers behind the GST Net. So if one doesn't see, like I file income tax return, I don't even know who is my ITO. So same thing will be there for the clean transactions. It is only when there is an infraction, there is a alleged infraction or there is an alleged deviation, then only the two agencies will come. So that's why one proposal was that whoever strikes first, but others will not, they will investigate, show cause notice to be prepared and given it to them. So only one will be. Similarly, audit also. Whoever does the audit, there will be an understanding. And that's why one proposal was also, I had written in your TIOL, that something like LTU should be there sitting in the same building where the central and CESS with the coordination is better. So those things can be taken care of if properly done. So that's my view only.
So competition is a new element, so we will touch that. That's a very vital element, sir. You know, the competition part among the, the competing revenue authorities. Whether this is going to be confined only
competition will be in higher efficiency, not in harassing the public.
Taxpayer services, for instance.
Competition in harassing the public.
It's not harassing, of course, but of course, yeah, Mr. Singh,
I would just like to add a few points. I agree with Sapraji that the taxpayers would like to have a single control when you have the same set of data. Otherwise, there will be great confusion. The different authorities will compete and you may have a very harassing environment for the taxpayer. And the fact which Majumdar Saab earlier quoted, the fact that all the data is now going to be with the GSTN. We can have a coordinated system mediated by GSTN that the work is divided between the center and the state depending on their capacity to execute the work. Because they have different manpower, different level of workforce. And when an audit or assessment is taken up for one authority, he will only carry out that audit or assessment, and you won't have differing views of a state and center on the same taxable events in this GST regime. So if the authorities agree, GSTN through a particular algorithm, this work can be divided between the center and the state.
He is basically trying to say, sir, the technology has a solution to this problem,
Yes.
but this is a tough war. Then why you should have SGST, why you should have CGST? Let's have a GST.
I would agree with Singh sir that technology is, what do you say, it's neither with the center, neither with the state. It's an independent body which would actually help administration. So I would...
so he's right, absolutely correct.
I think it's a great idea.
But we have got...
executed
absolutely,
properly.
but you see, given the facts, sir, that we are going for CGST, we are going for SGST. We are going for a law going to be legislated by the parliament.
Why?
And then the reason being that everybody wants own jurisdiction. They want to protect their jurisdiction, tough.
Because we have, how the other countries, European countries, Australia, New Zealand, they are collecting. Center is collecting for both center and states, and then they do the consumption survey of the states, and the 10% province A, 15% province B, depending upon the purchasing power, depending upon their population. Consumption level, and then they allocate the shares. But that is not to happen in India. Indian constitution has made it very clear. You can't make states weak. You have to have the fiscal autonomy of the states cannot be impaired with. Otherwise, if that was the model we have taken, Mr. Chidambaram Saab had announced in 2006, we would have got GST in 2007. Even today, Central Excise Service Tax is collected centrally, and part of it is devolved towards the state through the Finance Commission, previously a little bit through Planning Commission as well. So you have to keep that fiscal autonomy of this, otherwise the states will not come on board.
So this is what I'm saying, that if the solution lies there with the GST network and the states and the center, they say that okay, GST network has the data, let them have a software which will divide the data, etc. You are going to do the audit and assessment for certain number of cases, let the states handle rest of it. If that is the solution, then where is the tough war? Because ultimately the war is somewhere else. Because it's the revenue authorities, they have to exercise their power, they must have it. Even if it is the interface is going to be reduced, but ultimately there are certain functions of taxation where officials have to interact with the taxpayer.
Now, coming to that point, function of taxation. Now you see, taxing the goods and taxing the services are two different concepts. Goods are tangible, services are intangible. Now, what the finance center has been proposing, that let the center keep the authority to the taxing the services element in the GST, because the states don't have any experience on in this regard. After some time, it can be again differently. It can be thought of.
So where exactly the solution lies?
So I think the solution lies, one is, as you suggested, it cannot be possible that there is one law. But there must be some basis, whether it's technology which does it, or whether the center and states agree then within them, it cannot be the first mover. There has to be some basis by which they'll audit, and they can be, so it should not be that, the option can be that a set of assessees are audited by center today, and by states, and
Another set, right.
States. And that is changed over the period of 1, 2, 3 years, depending on what is the frequency of audits. Anti-evasion remains a first mover. If somebody finds a flaw, he can do an anti-evasion, and that can be, he can do the investigation both for state and center. Assessments are now it's self-assessment for the entire thing. There are no issues at all. Adjudication, they'll have to say that the things should be aligned, that the show cause notices should be clubbed, and there should be common adjudicating authorities.
So, sir, we are heading, actually willy-nilly we are heading the direction of a vertically split, where the tax base remains the same and the center and the state. Both of them will be sort of collecting taxes, and they will have a kind of understanding, maybe GST, MOU kind of thing, protocol kind of thing.
Rule-based, protocol-based.
Whereby, certain functions to be performed by the central authorities and certain functions by the state authority. So, this is one area. So, you wanted to supplement about adjudication?
Yeah. I quite agree with Bipin that, the adjudication, at least, there should not be two adjudication. There has to be two show cause notices because these are the two different acts. But after that, there should be a bench. And the first level itself, there should be a bench of one from the center, one from the states. And if there is a difference of opinion, always the third member, like in tribunal. And then whatever decision comes, it should be applicable to both the center and states. And similarly, the appellate procedure also should be like that. So that should take care of that
uniformity part.
Uniformity and double adjudication and all those things.
Can be avoided.
So there are ways, as Bipin was saying, so there are ways and means to how it can be done, but it has to be done fast.
So let's hope that the GST Council at its next meeting on 24th and 25th, that is Thursday, Friday, they are able to sort out this issue. Secondly, sir, let's switch over to the GST tax structure, sir. It has been decided as expected with little fine tuning. 6 has become 5, 26 has become 28. But more importantly, sir, where the industry is a little worried, and particularly the sane, demerit and luxury segment, where the CESS has been accepted as a tool to mop up additional revenue, which can go in the compensation kitty. So, sir, how exactly the CESS is going to be worked out?
It is not that for compensation they're planning to have CESS.
Sir.
What is the current rate? What are the items where CESS is there? Tobacco, cigarette.
Right, sir.
Luxury cars. What is the current rate of duty? Ad valorem and specific combined
right,
on cigarette, it is about 65%.
Right, sir.
And what is the GST peak rate?
28.
28. So naturally, you can't allow the country to become a smoker's paradise.
Right.
So you have to increase mop up this. One way was that's why the provision is there. You can have extra central excise duty on cigarette.
Right.
Instead of that, if he mops it up through CESS, I think it's still better. You don't have another extra central excise for that. So that's why for 65 minus 28, I expect that would be the CESS. Similarly, in luxury cars, what's the rate now? 54%. All taxes together. 28%. So they're only bringing it to that level. They're not collecting it. Now, why the states will have problem in agreeing to this? CESS is not shared. So that's why there's a problem. That's why I think Finance Minister, very intelligently, he has said that this is, whatever I'm collecting will help me in giving the compensation to you. So the compensation will not be an issue. Source of fund, the fund is known to the states that you are getting that much in there. So you can't say that I don't have money to compensate.
Let me, sir, find out from Mr. Sapra a very basic question, sir, where the TIL viewers would like to know how many goods are going to be there in that demerit, luxury and the sin category.
See, before I come to that, I would want to voice my very clear opinion and view, and I think that is what most of the industry would share, is that the concept of CESS should not be there. We are changing our the very concept of GST. If you want to really change behaviors like in tobacco, excise is the worldwide accepted view, should be there, and that should be used. In terms of compensation, we had talked about it was never there that compensation would be created from a cess or an external source. The GST buoyancy which would be created, which the center would get, there would be enough revenues to be distributed to state, or like in VAT regime, nobody would really need to be compensated given the buoyancy which would come. What items would be covered in which category is again the next thing which the industry is worried about. What would be under nil rate, what would be under 5, 12, 18, and finally what would be under 28 is the biggest worry. If all luxury items and if my cosmetics, all air conditioners.
So cosmetic air conditioners will fall in that luxury item, sir?
My view again, and I think, so while it may be justified to have a 28% bracket, what exactly items would be there? And the more items which are there, or more types of items which are there, the classification issues of erstwhile days would come back. So if whether a cosmetic soap is a cosmetic or a soap would be an issue. A hair oil with a certain amount of would be a cosmetic, or whether it would be a regular good. Bundled services would become an issue, because now they are planning to introduce the concept of bundled services very carefully. So goods plus service, whichever is the highest rate or whichever is going to be which gives the most effective character would be the on what would be taxed. That's what we keep on hearing in our various discussions. So in that case, there would be different rates. If there is an item at 28% and there is an item and a service at 18%, everything would go to 28%. Installing an air conditioner may be an example where air conditioner plus an installation would have had a different...
Sir, is it going to be so bad? The coconut oil is going to be categorized as pharma item and not as cosmetic or something like that, sir? I mean, this classification is so scary now?
Two things must be there or must not be there. One is that there should not be any proviso. And there should not be any subject to the condition.
Okay.
Because if you see, Bipin, you will agree with me, because of the HSN and all, the 8-digit and all, there are hardly any classification dispute now. What the dispute is basically on this notification, exemption notification, which says that provided this, or subject to the condition.
Yes.
Those things should go. Very clearly they should say, and only problem will be there in GST, they are not going up to 8-digit also. They will be going only up to 4-digit, I think. Because states have said that 4-digit. So if that is there, digit is given, then classification should not be a problem, and don't put these conditions and provisos.
One question which comes to my mind, whether this CESS is going to be collected at one point, it's going to be collected at multiple points.
So I heard somewhere that it may be at the first point only.
First point or last point, whatever. Yeah. Otherwise, what is happening?
Because this is an important issue, sir.
Then you've raised a very important issue, sir. Because the most critical part of the CESS, why is industry, they don't like CESS? Because CESS is not VATable. You don't get credit for that. So you can't have continuously that you keep on denying credit. So it has to be at one stage. I hope that.
But sir, this problem, I mean, it reminds me, is not going to be confined only to CESS. What about the MRP-based assessment in central excise? There are lots of goods which have been identified, and it's well known to the revenue authorities, which are evasion prone. So is there some kind of a space and room available?
So MRP-based assessment has gone away.
So in principle, it's gone away. But the revenue has to protect its stuff, and revenue, perhaps they will have to look at it.
GST is a totally different concept. You can't bring in the past baggage of excise and
VAT. But so this concept has undergone massive cosmetic changes.
No, not at all. I'll tell you.
This kind of GST is not found anywhere.
Shailendra, I would like to say one thing.
Sir.
Many people have criticized our Indian GST.
No, sir, I'm not criticizing. I'm feeling very proud.
No, I'm just saying that is a flawed one and all. Which country is having ideal GST? Ideal means theoretically. There's none. No one. Even you're talking about France, the country which first introduced VAT in 1954. They have 5 rates. And when somebody says they should single rate, and again I say, in a country, democratic country like India with so much of diversity, can you have single rate of duty on a suit and a dhoti, and that government will survive after that? You can't have. And see, they've taken care of. 6-5, there's a logic behind it. From 6, they've made it to 5, because 6% was the lowest slab. Food items, VAT was 5%. Central excise, there is no food items tax. So they've brought it down to 5, so that there is no inflation on food.
Yes, sir. Let me go back to the GST network. How exactly you are gearing up for this CESS? Are you going to create a separate kind of account, accounting head?
That is going to be a big problem from the system perspective, because as Sapra Sahab said, it may open a Pandora box and it will incline governments to impose CESS, other types of CESS in future also. And making changes in the system. Whenever a CESS is introduced, you will have to make change in the challan, you have to make change in the whole system, in the software is going to pose a big problem, especially when you have such a complex coordination between the different state governments, and the different settlement has to take place through the system information, and there is a complex compliance also process.
So, sir, I guess that his basket is full of hardship and trouble, and we have added some more to it. So, let me ask Mr. Singh that you have a message for, little comforting message for the SSCs, GST SSCs. You are geared up, you are ready with your migration software. How exactly this is going to take off?
See, we have finalized the software, the process requirements, the software requirement specification based on the model law, which is already there in the public domain. And Infosys has started developing the software. We are very close to testing, and we will begin testing in December. And as per our plan, we hope to carry out beta testing of all the core services software of registration, return and payment in February. Apart from that, we have already deployed the migration software, which is a one-time activity for all the existing taxpayers who have to upload their data afresh in a metadata standard compliant format. And this activity started from the 8th of November from the states of Puducherry and Sikkim. It is being done in a staggered manner because of the delay in the passage of Constitution Bill. The hardware is still not ready, so we are doing it on a cloud environment. And next, from the 14th and 15th, the states of Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, there are several states.
There is a time schedule for each state.
There is a time schedule which is available on the website. The website is now operational, and you have the FAQs, the CBTs and all these things are there on the website to upload your first time data and enroll on this is called enrollment process, enroll on the GST website, because in GST regime all the compliances are going to be online. And you need to have a valid user ID.
So what exactly GST network is going to do with the data which is going to be uploaded?
This data will be the part of their registration database.
Okay.
And the model law says that they will have to furnish all this data afresh, barring the PAN data,
right,
which is being already populated based on their existing registration.
Okay.
And all existing registrants are deemed to be registered in VAT regime also.
Right.
They can surrender, though the threshold is higher in the GST regime of 20 lakhs, but all the existing registrant of VAT, CBEC, Central Excise, Service Tax are deemed.
So one part is there that so far as registration is concerned, so far as auto generation of that unique identification number is concerned, you are ready, it's being done. The process is on.
The process.
But through the cloud, that you are
when our system comes into operation, it will be migrated to our system, and it will be available for the compliance activities to the taxpayers.
So this is the primary step, the very basic step. Now the next is the
return filing and payment. That softwares are also being developed, and they will be ready for beta testing We hope it will be ready, and we are making all-out effort, and Infosys is our software developer, and they have put all the resources.
So by January, February, that beta testing,
we are expecting to do the beta testing in that
beta testing
period, yes.
Okay.
But my question would be that there is changes in law happening. The law has not been frozen. The rules are also getting frozen as the law gets frozen. So after that also iterations will have to be made in the software.
Halaki we have, based on certain commonsensical legal principles, we have made provisions in the software of having many things as configurable. So these things can be taken care of when the law comes into being. But whatever rework is required based on the amendments, those will be carried out once this law comes into place, and that may require some extra time. But that is a constraint which is
futuristic decision. Let's say the GST Council decides after 1 year that petroleum should be a part of it.
Yes.
So you will have the provision right
in
the beginning.
In case of petroleum, there is no problem if it is a commodity.
Adding new
registrants will no problem.
So just creating separate accounting head, the job will remain the same.
Adding another CESS would be a problem.
Yes.
Adding another CESS would be a problem.
CESS would be a problem because presently we are having some 3 major heads and 5 minor heads in each major head. So already we are having 15 heads. So if you are adding a CESS, then the software has to be changed at all levels.
I am as a common man, I am scared because looking at the ATMs, I have not been able to experience my ATM for the last 10 days. Not able to withdraw because most of the ATMs are non-functional because the software is not calibrated. So is it going to be a situation like this that tomorrow, it's a powerful body, it's a federal body, they have all the authorities to decide. They say that let's have CESS on a couple of more items. It's quite possible.
But there will be a certain gestation period, that cannot happen overnight.
There is no gestation period today for demonetization. I mean, that brings me to you, sir. I mean, maybe since we are talking about this, you would like to tell us the connect between the demonetization and the GST.
See, there are two things I can talk about that. First is that what was being planned, or that as a collateral benefit of GST, is that the unorganized sector, which are working on cash, they will come to the organized sector. So a lot of cash will come into the mainstream. So that work is being done by demonetization partially. This is one connect between GST and it has been preponed. The other thing is that what you see, one is the policy of demonetization, other is the implementation of demonetization. The implementation part, there is a lesson to learn for GST. That lesson is that prepare well and hasten slowly.
So on this note, let me wrap up this episode and thank all my guests for making it very, very important and precise point. The heavens will not fall if it is postponed by 3 months. And the law itself provides that kind of a space whereby the GST implementation can be delayed by 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, up to 15th of September. That is the cutoff day. Secondly, the most important thing, the cross empowerment. Since we have opted for the dual model, there is absolutely no question of having, the single SSC and single authority. We will have 2 authorities, and the 2 authorities need not compete against each other. They need to coordinate, hold hands together, and work out some kind of solution where the SSCs are having little more comfortable time while paying taxes honestly. Thanking you all for watching TIOL Tube.